Hey chess players! Today I have an awesome game to show you. This is my round 3 game that I played against a grandmaster. His name is Hedinn Steingrimsson, and this was an exciting clash. Um, I played an English opening here. We start with c4, and after the c4, the English opening, grandmaster plays e5. There's g3, and gonna play bishop g2 next. c6, d4. And the reason I can play d4 is because after takes, Hedinn plays knight f6. The reason is it's okay to have my queen out because there's no knight that can attack my queen. But as you'll see in the game, there was my queen did get in danger. So let's see what happens. And again, I have the white pieces, and the grandmaster is playing black here. Knight a6, and I play knight h3. I recall studying this line during the pandemic, but knight f3 seems more natural in hindsight. This takes 2 moves to develop the knight to a good square. And the grandmaster took advantage of it with this knight a4, knight a6 idea. And going into d5, I just simply played knight into this square, putting pressure on the center. I completely underestimated this knight move. I knew that after the big fork threat, where it attacks all 3 pieces, I knew that I could easily just play knight a3 to defend against the threat. However, after it takes, the better half of me thought you should go ahead and just play the natural queen takes queen, king takes in castle, and go ahead and just grab the pawn back later. I did see that my knight could get chased to an awkward square. I meant to play this to defend the pawn from the knight, and I did see this, but I realized that it's really hard to keep this pawn guarded. I guess bishop e6. After h6, I could just take the pawn. That's right. And if he plays this b5 move, if you are new to chess, you should pause the video and find a good move for white. And it's knight takes b5, and that he can't take it back because there's the pin right here. And back to queen takes c4. This is what I played. I totally underestimated this move there where he played this g5 move. Now, a strange thing in this game was that the grandmaster drinks a lot of water and Gatorade, actually, and he had to go to the bathroom 14 times. I actually thought, in this day and age of cheating, I actually thought, what is going on here? But after looking at the game, there's no way there was any foul play. g5, knight d3. I thought better than to go to the side of the board. This would be not a good place for my knight to live right here. And plus, he'll get a free tempo on my queen later with bishop e6. So in the game, after g5, I played knight d3. Now my pawns get all wrecked here. And lots of free tempos on my queen, unfortunately. My knight was on a good square. It was holding the bishop back from going to here to get a tempo on my queen. But now everything seems to fall apart. But watch as I come back in the game. Watch the grandmaster technique and then watch how I come back in the game. It's a really fun process here. So after this bishop e6 move, I played queen c3 with a pin on this knight. It can't move because of the rook. He plays knight takes d3. I play e takes d3, h6 because I'm attacking the pawn here. So he plays h6 to defend it. And after h6, I play h4, thinking it's a natural move. I thought he would play pawn takes, which would weaken this pawn. Or he might play g4, which would give me a better diagonal and this good square. But instead, I missed the move rook g8. And he just sidesteps my rook. If I take, there's no rook for me to take here. So after h takes g5, I castle. He plays knight d5. And it looks like my queen has very few squares. I actually deliberately went here with a pin on the bishop, knowing full well that my queen would get tempo. So I had to do something because otherwise my queen has to go to an awkward square. After bishop g7, I played queen e4, keeping the pin, maybe thinking about playing this move, which eventually I was able to play. Queen f6, a good move. And this move, bishop e3, really gave Hedinn some fits because he didn't want a castle, even, and there's hope for you guys who are not even close to Grandmaster, kind of like me, because after castles, the Grandmaster was afraid of this bishop takes a7. Looks intimidating, but the truth is he might be able to play rook here, trade bishops, and generate some kind of awesome attack way before my attack comes through. It's really hard to see that black's attack is faster than white's attack, especially with this bishop bearing down on the king. So even a Grandmaster didn't want this to happen. Because of that resource, bishop e3, because of that, and I saw bishop takes knight here, and I saw if he takes both rooks, which is usually better, 2 rooks is better than a queen, but I have this knight d6 check, and black is in trouble, undergoing a big king attack on his king. So now, after back to the game, after bishop e3, there was knight c2, and oh, I missed his move. He played a6 so that he can castle without worrying about this pawn. So he can castle queenside. And then I played knight c2. It looks like in hindsight that knight c4 was more natural. Just defends my pawn. But I went ahead and played knight c2. And my first intention was knight d4. And then I realized it loses to ideas like knight c3. And there's a cool variation. I play queen back. And pause the video if you can see black's amazing combination. Okay, check it out. Here's what he could have played if I would have done this. Bishop takes d4, removing the guard of the e2 square. Bishop takes d4, knight e2 check, and lights out is around the corner because king h2, rook h8 check, and even though I take the rook, his queen comes back and takes it, and it's lights out. Bishop blocks, checkmate. And so back to the game, he played knight takes, sorry, I actually played d4. I found a move so that if knight c3, queen d3, now he can't play knight e2 because queen here. So I found a resource, and to make it even more fun, it turns out that after f takes e3, this queen's out of play, and so he tries to get his queen back in the game, giving me time for bishop h3, and we're reaching close to equality. Even though I got a terrible result in the opening, I'm close to equal after my back was against the wall, and this is a trend. When my back's against the wall, I tend to play better and focus better instead of having my mind drift. Let me know if that happens to you guys too. If your back's against the wall and you're in danger, if your senses are heightened and you play better chess. I'm curious. Queen c2, king g2, because queen takes g3 is a threat. So king g2, queen e7, because this bishop's pinned. He defends it, and he wants to trade queens because he's up a pawn. So I go into this endgame, rook a b1, attacking the pawn. If he plays something like b5, I just have knight b4, putting pressure on the newly weakened pawn. Going back, he plays rook a7 to guard the pawn, and then I play knight b4, going for a control of these squares. After rook f8, I took the rook, and he played bishop takes, played knight d3, a5, and now I played a move that was kind of dubious, and I was surprised that he didn't take advantage of it, but I did think for the time being it stops his pawn advances, so he can, it's going to be 2 against 1, and he'll try to get a queen on the queen side. But a4 actually helps him speed up the process. In fact, pause the video and try to find a good move for black. This is what the Grandmaster missed. The Grandmaster played king d7, but he should have played b5. In fact, I saw this pawn sacrifice, and I was surprised he didn't try this. Now he has a massively powerful a pawn, and it's, my knight could come back and stop it, but with the bishop and pawns on both sides of the board, it should favor black. But instead of going for this, he wanted to keep his pawn. He played the materialistic knight, king d7. And now I miss. After king comes up, he plays king over, and I attack the pawn with king here. Maybe better is king to the center. I was too worried about getting my pawn back. But here is where I missed an amazing move. Not even king here or king to g4. Pause the video. What did I miss? And the move was knight c5. Brilliant move. Because I saw this move, but I missed that this was just a nice little knight fork that would win the game. So I did also notice that this would probably be very bad for him. if he tries to get the rook back in the game, I can probably either go after the center pawn. This pawn blocks him from playing here because of pawn takes. And I can get my rook back in the game. And I get some counterplay and probably get a draw. But, you know, I play king g4 and bishop e7. And then I play knight c5. And then e5. There's no more knight fork. Doesn't exist anymore. But I still play knight e6 check. King d6. And here, the better half of me thought, play the amazing move. What do you think white should play here? And the amazing move is king f5, not caring about the extra pawn. In the game, I made a huge mistake. I actually took the pawn, and it led to a lost endgame, or close to losing. If I would have played king f5, his rook is passive, lead defending the pawn. His bishop and king are passive. He does have a move to get his king active, but I'll just take a pawn, and he's in trouble. So if he takes the pawn, instead of taking back with the knight or the pawn, find an amazing move for white. Pause the video. And it's rook d1, just an incredible move. Rook d1, let's say there's, all my pieces are active now. Let's say c5, c4, and yeah, goodness, white's pieces are just coming to life. Maybe knight c5 to e4, maybe d5, and white's pieces are very active. And I have a passed pawn, and anyway, good position. So after knight takes g5, he took the pawn in the center, I took back, and he played king d5, activating his king. Now his king and bishop are active. In fact, I try to get my king active. He takes my active knight. Now it's active king, and my king is a little bit active, helping my pawn, but his king's also active. He takes the pawn. I play king f6, and we're slightly in time pressure here, but it should be a losing race. I played rook b6, which is a mistake. It just helps his king come back, and then he can start pushing his pawns. But even looking at some g4 lines, it looks like black barely wins the race. He'll sacrifice the rook for a pawn, and just like it'll be similar to the game, and you'll see what happens. Rook b6, king c5, rook b1, and then he plays b5. I played check, which didn't even help me much at all. Maybe it hurt me because his king is more active. I took the pawn. He takes here. He has 2 pawns versus 1 pawn, and it should be effectively game over. g4, king b3, g5, a4, g6, a3. I keep trying. He sacrifices the rook. I take with the king. He plays a2. I try to stop the pawn and try to stop him from getting a queen. He plays b4. I play king f6, king b2, king e5, and I'm trying to come back there, but I'm just too late. And after this position, sorry, I played, I think king d4, or I might have resigned here. But after king here, he pushes the pawn, and there's no way I can catch his pawn. King and queen versus king is a well-known win, and I had to resign here. What an amazing game. I was able to achieve a drawn position against the grandmaster out of playing 9 grandmasters this year, which is very fortunate to play 9 grandmasters. I drew 1, and this is my first drawn position against the grandmaster, aside from the game where I drew Joshua Reitz over the summer. If you find this valuable, guys, please consider subscribing to my channel. Maybe make a comment on the video or like the video if you like this video. I can't wait to make more content and show you round 4 and round 5 where I played the sensational international master Ryo Chin, who's soon to become a grandmaster. I can't wait to show those videos, and yeah, more important than subscribing, I really appreciate you guys watching all this content, especially if it resonates with you and you find it valuable. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great time. Bye.